getting completely off rhythm. What are we to do? Thank you, Amy. I like her so much. Her glasses are attractive. Thank you so much for that ridiculously robust applause. You may have mistaken me for someone else. So glad to be here. Thank you so much. Special thanks to Michael Nolf and his whole team who have been hosts to us today. Great job. Most gracious hospitality. And the Student Entertainment Committee. Good job. And break a leg to Dominic in the booth. Hope it goes well. We'll see. Your campus is really beautiful here. I find it romantic and a little bit haunted. It must be a great place to pursue your education and whatever else you're pursuing. To all of you who are losties, I say namaste.
Namaste.
Show of hands, how many of you have seen that show?
Yeah.
Has anyone never seen Lost?
Get out now.
Oh my goodness, what are we going to do with you? You may need an interpreter. Try to cozy up to one of the people that raised their hand the first time. I'm happy to be here tonight to answer questions about Lost, about my work on Lost, about show business in general, or whatever. But before we do that, I wonder if you would indulge me in a little show and tell. I want to tell you a couple of stories. First off, I want to tell you about the day that I got the job. It was December of 2005, and my wife, Carrie Preston, and I were sitting at Uncle Vanya's Russian restaurant on West 54th Street in Manhattan. It looks appetizing, doesn't it? Gourmet catering. It was snowing outside, actually, on the day. My cell phone rang, and it was Damon Lindelof and Carlton Hughes, who are the head writers and executive producers of Lost. And they were calling me to offer me a guest spot on their show, a character they were calling Henry Gale. This is not customary for executive producers to call an actor for a guest spot. They were very funny and very excited about the part, but also a little vague about it. I said, yeah, sounds great, because that's what you say when Hollywood producers call you and offer you a part on a TV show, especially one that shoots in Hawaii. Especially in the winter time. My wife, Carrie Preston, I think was more excited than I was about the job. She had been an avid viewer of the show since it premiered. I think, if memory serves, that she jumped up and down and foamed at the mouth. On January the 10th of 2006, I got on an airplane for the long flight, from New York to Honolulu, and at dawn the following morning I found myself doing this. My name is Henry Gale. I'm from Minnesota. For 6 hours they ran me up in the trap and they dropped me. They ran me up in the trap and they dropped me. Finally we took a lunch break and I thought, oh thank God, that's over. Surely whatever comes after lunch will be easier. It wasn't. The running, the falling, the running, the falling. The next morning I could barely walk down the stairs at my hotel, and this was my first day on the show. Before I left to go to Honolulu, I ran into a fellow actor in Manhattan, and he said, I hear you're going to go work on Lost. Great show, but I hear the work is a little rough. A little rough? I never dreamed how rough it could be. Everything about Lost was unexpected. But then I have to say that my observation of my career is that the running theme is that of the unexpected. People always say, well, you have to have a plan. You have to set goals for yourself. But how are you going to do that when stuff keeps coming out of left field? The things I did not expect have occupied so much of my life that it seems sometimes that has been my life. Well, what's your plan if you don't know what's coming next? I would like to expand on this idea of the unexpected in my work on Lost. But first, let me give you a little background. I grew up in a small... Nice glasses. I grew up in the small farm town of Toledo, Iowa. There are some Iowans here, right? And you know Con. Con, who saved our lives with an emergency delivery of Chinese food. We love him. The first role I ever played was, strangely enough, that of a Hawaiian witch doctor in our 5th grade pageant, Hawaii, Islands of Enchantment. I wore a grass skirt over my clothes and a huge papier-mâché tiki head that I had made at home and painted myself. I chanted in the Hawaiian language, and I did that dance they do with the bamboo poles. Mercifully, there is no photographic record. But I didn't know I wanted to be an actor until a few years later. I think I was about 13. I went to our local high school production of Arsenic and Old Lace. For those of you who don't know, Arsenic and Old Lace is a very funny old play from the 30s that was made into a wonderful movie with Cary Grant. Cary Grant plays a regular guy that goes to visit his dear old aunts and discovers that they're serial killers. My favorite character in this story is his crazy uncle who thinks that he's Teddy Roosevelt.
Now, Alice, don't be a tomboy. Don't play rough with the gentleman. Charge!
That was the actor, John Alexander. In the play at our high school, that role was played by an older guy that I knew from my church. His name was Bill McRoberts, and he was a tall, skinny guy with glasses, and he was very quiet, but not when he got on stage. He had created this character with a big, bushy, fake mustache and an eccentric accent and a chaotic way of running up and down those stairs that was all knees and elbows. It was the funniest thing I had ever seen. And more than just being funny, I was struck by, I had this overwhelming impression of it being magic, of it being charismatic. That somebody I knew, someone that was from my town, could hold an audience in the palm of their hand. I thought to myself that night, if I could ever be half that cool, if I could ever be half that entertaining, I would never ask for anything else. So I do think the seed was planted that night. But the road from that childhood inspiration to being a regular on a television series is, in my case, a very long, slow, and roundabout one. I will spare you the gory details, but I did plays in college. I did plays in high school, did plays in college. I graduated college with an acting degree. I moved to New York where I gave up acting. I somehow became a magazine illustrator, which is work that I did for many years. Here's a sample. That's the kind of thing. A little more abstract. This next one, this is a self-portrait that I drew about 25 years ago when I was an illustrator. But what I think is interesting about it is there seems to be a quality of Ben Linus about it. Don't you think? And it makes you wonder, is a character like that living inside you all your life, waiting to get out? You know, it makes me think of that thing that Stanislavski, the great acting teacher, said about the actor pregnant with his heart. I feel that I waited a long, long time to give birth to Benjamin Linus. But I digress. While I was an illustrator, I moved to Florida. I gave up illustration. I decided to be an actor again. I did plays all over the South. I finally went back to grad school in my late 30s. I graduated. I moved to New York City again. And finally, after a string of disappointments, I found myself a working actor. So we're not talking an overnight success here. It was a long time. If someone had asked me when I was 21, if they had come to me and said, you are going to have success in your field, but you have to wait another 21 years to get there, don't know what I would have said. It certainly wasn't what I expected. I know it seemed like it was a long wait, and I guess I was disappointed or discouraged at times, but it wasn't so bad once I figured out what it was I was supposed to do in my life. Once I figured out that I was supposed to be an actor, everything really got quite simple. I just had to accept that I was on a different timetable from everybody else. It wasn't necessarily a worse timetable, it was just different. And there was nothing for me to do but be patient and steady and keep practicing. And sometimes, while you're waiting and practicing, something wonderful and unexpected happens in your life. This is my wife, Carrie Preston, but you probably know her better looking like this. She plays Arlene on True Blood on HBO. I met Carrie Preston when I was at grad school at the Alabama Shakespeare Festival. She came down from New York to play Ophelia in a big production of Hamlet that we did. I was playing Guildenstern. The thing I loved about her first was her voice. It had a kind of musicality and humor about it that suggested to me that she had a good heart underneath it. Eventually I began to like everything about her, and I began to follow her around. And then I guess that she decided that she liked me all right, so she followed me around, and then we ended up just going around a lot. When the show closed, she had to go back to New York City. I was sad, of course, so 6 months later when I graduated, I moved to New York City too. It may not have been the most practical choice I ever made. Luckily, we had this nice romance because I wasn't doing so well when I first got there. I was auditioning a fair amount, but never quite getting the part. Just about the time I was thinking, maybe I've made a terrible mistake here and I ought to go back south, I got an incredible and unexpected break. Carrie had a friend who had a friend named Moises Kaufman. He had written a play called Gross Indecency, The Three Trials of Oscar Wilde. It was about the prosecution and tragic downfall of the English playwright Oscar Wilde, who was in prison for being openly gay. Moises Kaufman was looking for grown-up actors who could do an English accent. So I went and met with him, and he was gracious enough to let me participate in some readings of the play, and later when he decided to produce it in an old lecture hall in Greenwich Village, he cast me as Oscar Wilde's lawyer. This was a job that did not pay anything, but I was happy to have the part. I was happy to have the part. I was happy to be playing anything, to tell you the truth. But strangely enough, after a week of rehearsal, the actor who was playing Oscar Wilde got fired. I don't know what got into me, but I went to Moises and I asked if I could audition for the part. Somehow he said that I could, and somehow he gave me the part. So there I was playing the lead, and I had 3 weeks to learn the lines. That was me in the part. We never dreamt we would even get reviewed by the New York Times, much less that we would get a rave. This was the break of a lifetime. This is my Cinderella moment. Suddenly I was playing the lead role in a play that was the hottest ticket in town. I played the part for 2 years. I played it in New York and San Francisco and Los Angeles and then back in New York again. And it got me started on my stage career. It opened some doors for me, and it led to a series of stage parts in New York City. This is Brian Friel's play, Give Me Your Answer Due. That was a Moliere play, nice hair. This is me in some avant-garde play with Uma Thurman. Nice glasses. This is me with a former head of state. I can't tell who looks worse. I mean, I look like a zombie, but he looks like a cardboard cutout. One of the things you forget when you're in a play is that you spend a half an hour making your teeth green and like zombie-ish all about the face and stuff. So when the show is over, you're out, you're meeting and greeting people, you're flirting with the ladies, shaking hands with celebrities, forgetting that you look like the wrath of God. It was an interesting moment. Anyway, doing enough stage work, eventually I got to try out for some TV parts, but I didn't have much luck there either. People seemed to like me, but they never knew what to do with me. I guess I was an odd type. I seemed to be falling through the cracks. In the summer of the year 2000, I was sent a script to play a villain. And the character was so